Hi, it's me, Justina from Investigative Sophism, and my episode for today is on something that sounds like a very basic question to ask, something very broad also, but I think it's so important to ask, and that is, what are you about? And this fourth season of my podcast, of my videos, is all about let's get real, about being real with ourselves, which is also a very broad topic, I understand, but I thought this question, I think it's very relevant, always. And I've kind of asked it in different ways and kind of the same way before. But I'll tell you why I think it's very important to ask that now, or for me at least, it has been. So, as someone who is a political commentator, I'm doing that for 10 years now. I've worked in, with different NGOs, projects that could be seen as, political. I worked with organizations in Palestine, and support organizations that do work in Palestine. Worked with an anti-war organization, now working for a beautiful organization that works in the field of planetary health, so very anti-colonial as well, like the work of decolonizing. Anyway, so this project, right, Investigative Sophism, is mental health, personal development, trying to bring more of trauma and collective trauma also. Anyway, so for me, as someone who's done that, I realize, of course, inevitably, I am bringing that work to this project too. And it's actually, for me, a very big deal. And I was talking to a friend recently, actually a friend who I did meet in Palestine. So she's been doing some political work, like working in NGOs, and now she works in a different field. And she was saying, I was, when the violence intensified, let's say in Palestine now, almost 2 months ago, I was like, I have this project and I'm like, it's not political. And I was kind of reluctant, like, should I share, share stories on Palestine there? Like, would that make sense kind of? And she said, I realized that no, like it's too important and I have to bring it there. And interestingly, her followers, let's say people who are interested in her work, they really appreciate it. They're like, yeah, we respect that. And they want to say like, do it because it's good for your business. No, but certain people will appreciate you talking about real life things. And I was telling her that, oh my God, oh yes, like I myself, right? Like I have several projects and these are my projects. They're completely mine. Like I'm like one person who's responsible for them. I'm the one choosing all my topics, like completely everything. It's like, there's no one else. I'm the one doing that. So I have that freedom. I have that editorial freedom, whatever. So why? If these are my projects and I've chosen to have them, why would I not bring all of me, or as much as makes sense for me to bring, why wouldn't I bring all of me to these projects? Why would I orphan, let's say, to use a concept language that internal family systems, a very nice kind of therapy and a framework uses, why would I orphan a certain part of myself in this project, and a part of myself that I will say, I know it's very cheesy language, in a profound way, makes me who I am? Why would I censor myself? Why would I not talk about real life? Because if I talk about mental health and healing, what happens in real life is very much where we live, right? Like this is our society, these are our surroundings. So why would I pretend that this work that I do here is somehow above it, or like somewhere else? Of course it's not. And I realize that for me, it's also, this is actually what's very important in the work of others. Like, are you sort of like, let's pretend other things are not happening, even when we're conscious, because we could not know that other things are happening, like that's fine. But if I am conscious of that and I choose not to talk about it, like, for me, that is weird. And no matter how small my projects are, just personally, I'm so glad that this is the path I've chosen. A path of not silencing myself, a path of bridging mental health, politics, like, once again, concept of trauma, oppression that comes in external, as we think of them, like external oppression, but also internal one, and they're obviously connected. I'm so very selfishly glad that I am not shying away from, like talking about something that I would think, but it's not really like the main focus of what I do, but if it's important enough, I'll bring it, and I'll bring it, without shame or without fear. And to answer that question, what are you about? Like, what's important to you? This is just one. I think this is just one of the ways to kind of answer, to say, like, what's so important to you that you will take sometimes that uncomfortable action, that you will kind of connect these dots and bring something that seems like outside of this realm, you bring it into this realm. What's so important, you will speak out. Like, what is it? And a very seemingly potentially arrogant question to ask is, what do you stand for? I saw so many bits now of these, public intellectuals and people like established platforms, especially some white men, who talk about some affairs, kind of like, oh, let's explore them on this intellectual level, which is, not bad in itself. Like, that's, what I like to do. And I'm listening, like, and someone who's like not taking sides when there's like a very clear expression of oppression somewhere. I'm like, I feel like you stand for nothing. It's like, well, it's this. Let's look into these both sides. Like, ooh. I'm like, can you make a stance? Can you identify like that? Can you say that like some things are morally unacceptable, or are we gonna kind of dance around it? So for me personally, this is very important. And also it's something that if I think it's important, well, then can I reflect that? Can I embody that? Can I be that? Whatever the question is. Like, what do you stand for? What's important to you? So I think it's a very important question to ask, different ways of how you might even want to explore it, right? And I don't think that there's like one way that's correct. For me, it's mostly this is what comes to mind because I do work that is political. Not only political, but like it's also political. So for you, these, like how you want to answer that question for yourself, oh my God, it doesn't have to be about politics, like it doesn't. But in terms of values and principles, I feel like it's always an excellent question to ask. Always, always, always. And from that question, I think many more interesting, cool, valuable reflections stem. And I feel like today, like now, it's a good question to ask because we're witnessing, it's not just Palestine. Like obviously there are conflicts, at all times everywhere, and obviously what's happening in Palestine, that's like almost 8 decades of oppression. So it's also not just now, and but also when something really horrible is happening, and you see how others, how they react, how they don't react, how they speak out, maybe don't speak out, like how they are showing up. I feel like it's a very fertile sort of soil for that reflection, like, oh, does that seem right to you? Does that seem weird? Is like, do you admire that? Do you admire that? And I think that all leads to, that question, like what are you about? And I think the clearer we are, not to say that we can like, I've defined what I'm about and like, that's it. Obviously, yes, allow your, even your self-image, allow it to change. Like, oh my God, yes. My self-image is not the same as when I was, like 18, like, of course not. But, like a check-in, like values, principles, if I think that I'm about this thing, what does that look like then? What are my actions? Like there are plenty of things I like to think like, I'm very much like this. And then like, I don't do anything. Like, I just think about myself in a certain way. I don't embody it, So, yeah. I feel like it's a good time to ask these questions. And if you haven't reflected on that already, because it's not like some question that maybe no one asked you ever, but I think there's a lot of value in trying to answer that, trying to reflect on that, and seeing where it takes you, and hopefully using that clarity to guide yourselves, I guess, like as you navigate life. So a simple question, but I hope you take the time. I hope you think about it, and I hope that only good things can stem from that reflection. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here, for watching this, or listening to this long video now, and I'll see you soon.